If you pay attention close enough, and really you don't even have to be really paying close attention, you will hear Republicans admit the thing that they've denied for years, and that's voter suppression is the tactic of the day. Yesterday, Laura Trump, I got an email saying, hey, don't pronounce her name Laura. My name's Laura. She's Lara. So, right, I hear you. Lara Trump. Lara Trump. She went on with Maria Bartiromo, who you will remember famously brought us the conspiracy about Dominion voting and Hugo Chavez and the lie about the election being stolen from a woman who claimed that the wind told her she's a ghost. I'll get that out of the way since I say it every time. She was on with Maria Bartiromo whining about voter transparency and securing elections while at the same time talking about interfering in elections. She admits that we're going to try to stop counting all the ballots. They need to be stopped. The counting needs to stop as soon as election day is over. And this presents a problem for a host of different states, upwards of maybe 20 states around the country, who can't even begin counting electoral votes until the polls close on election day, which gives them, 3-4 hours to get them all counted, or Laura Trump says they should just be thrown out. Military, active duty military people who are overseas and send their vote in by mail. Elderly people who can't make it to the polls. Disabled people who can't make it to the polls. A host of other individuals who primarily use absentee voting. They would be at risk of disenfranchisement. Here is Laura Trump. Watch this, and we'll talk about some of the elements on the other side.
Saying for a while now that your priority is to ensure a transparent election. And I see that the RNC and the Trump campaign filing a lawsuit in a battleground state to stop counting ballots past Election Day. What are you doing with regard to suing Nevada right now?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. You cannot have ballots counted, Maria, after elections are over. And right now, that is one of the many lawsuits we have out across this country to ensure that just that happens, that we have a free, fair, and transparent election. So in Nevada, as you pointed out, we are saying we want on Election Day that to be the last day that mail-in ballots can be counted. And we've been very successful in a lot of lawsuits. A couple weeks ago, we won a big lawsuit in the state of Pennsylvania. They wanted to take off dates from mail-in ballots, of course, the Democrats, in an effort to make it easier to cheat. We pushed back on that. We won, and that set precedent for the entire country. So whether it's Nevada, whether it's Pennsylvania, or whether it's in New York City, where we actually just had a big win, they were trying to encourage 800,000 non-citizens to vote. We had a bipartisan effort led by the RNC. We won there. They are not going to be able to do that. And we are doing those things all across the country because we can't be reactive. We have to be proactive. We have to look at this well ahead of Election Day and the election season that we now have in this country. We're doing everything from the RNC to ensure that that happens.
So
that's a hell of a quote, is it not? You cannot have ballots counted after elections are over. We want Election Day to be the last day mail-in ballots are counted. Sometimes mail-in ballots aren't even received until after the election. As long as they're postmarked on Election Day or pre-Election Day, you're good. The goal, and we shouldn't have to get this elementary with things, but with Republican Party, apparently you have to. In elections, the goal is to count the ballots cast so that we know what the people chose, who the people chose to win in that election. Ballots are cast up to the election. Some states have early voting. Some states have universal mail-in voting. So you want to count all the ballots. It doesn't matter if it's a week later or if it's 5 minutes after the election closes. If the ballot was cast before, that's the goal. So Laura Trump would have you, let's say the polls close at 8 or 9 p.m. in these 17 or 20 states. She would say, if you don't count all of the absentee ballots, the write-in ballots, the mail-in ballots, let's say the polls close at 8. You have 4 hours. So if you have 500,000, we'll just say a number of 100,000 votes, and you only count 80,000 of them, that other 20,000 at 12:01 on the day after Election Day, they just get thrown away. So 20,000 people would be disenfranchised. That's what Laura Trump wants. That's what Republican Party policy is at this point. That's the platform. Don't count all the votes, because the more votes you count, the more likely we are to lose. It's a numbers game with them. And there's another element to this that people don't talk about, which is processing versus counting. Many states don't allow you to even process the ballots until the polls close or up until election day. Processing meaning you open the envelope. There's a whole bunch of other rigmarole that goes into getting the vote out to process, to count. So there's processing time that takes place and counting time, which are completely separate. This is Donald Trump's game plan. This is why they want poll watchers to gum up the works. They want their Republican poll watchers to slow the process, to challenge this, to challenge that, to take more time to push beyond election day and then say, all right, well, it's past election day. Let's stop counting. This is sheer election interference is what this is. This is attempting to not count all the ballots. What kind of a democracy are we really if you don't count all the votes? If a ballot was cast prior to the election, those should all be counted. But not in the eyes of the Republican Party, as she's talking about all these lawsuits we're filing. If you can't win fairly, you can't win. And if you don't win, you don't govern. But not in the mind of Republicans. Donald Trump didn't win the popular vote, still won the election in 2016. Fair and square, won the election in 2016. There are mechanisms in place in our wacky anti-democratic system of elections in the United States to give people the opportunity to win, even though they weren't chosen by popular vote. That's not good enough for them. They also need to suppress the vote that actually comes in, the popular vote. And it's only, notice, it's only in the certain states where Donald Trump is more in jeopardy, like her talking about Nevada, like Georgia, like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, like other states where it's not a cut and dry like Idaho or Oklahoma. It's not a guaranteed victory. Those are the states they challenge. It's a la what took place in 2020 when every state wasn't challenged. If Donald Trump won a state, oh, that's fair and square. But if he lost a state like in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, those states have to be challenged because there was obviously fraud. And there's movement underway right now among people who want to be his VP who are just jumping on board with this. I'm going to talk about this next in a video about Tim Scott, who was on with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. We have laid bare their agenda. They've laid it bare themselves. It is disgusting. It is anti-democratic. And they're not even trying to hide it. They roll their dum-dum chairperson, Laura Trump, out there. And she just says the quiet part out loud that she wants to disenfranchise active duty service members. She wants to disenfranchise the elderly. She wants to disenfranchise you if you're disabled and can't with ease make it to the polls, so you vote by mail. She wants to disenfranchise Donald Trump, who votes by mail, who votes absentee. Make it make sense. You can't. It's a numbers game that they play, that they've honed and perfected over time. Anyway, what do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I, as always, would love to hear from you. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. Facebook, Threads, Twitter, all of them at Dollemore. And please, consider supporting this work. You can help me produce these videos. Click the join button below, become a channel member for $2 a month. You can also go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I'll see you next time. We're better than this. We are. We are better than this. Be genuine. Take care of one another.